here is capture some key concepts around fundraising. This is suitable for a early stage company. We've tried to capture all important concepts that every entrepreneur slash founder needs to look at to determine, just to understand some of the big picture items. The idea is not to create reams and reams of paper around a lot of detail. Detail, of course, is relevant, but detail should not be detail should not cause confusion. That's what we are trying to attempt here. So the headline items alone we have captured in this. Idea is you can click on any of these things. So can you just click on any of them? Just click on them.
Yes, sir.
So you will find simple content around each of these concepts, which you can go and click on and understand. Convertible notes are fairly popular. Initially they were popular in the West, and now they're becoming more and more popular in India. The challenge always is to establish valuation at a very early stage. You don't know how much traction the company will get when you're raising your first 25 lakhs, 50 lakhs, 1 crore, 2 crores, or even for that matter, 5 crores today. You don't know how much traction you'll get, how quickly you will grow, what are the kind of costs you'll incur, what are the kind of capital you need to raise, etc., etc. So idea is just to do a convertible note and move on. So, that's just an explanation on this. So let's go back to the home screen. So if you see here, there are 4 broad things we have tried to cover. No, so I don't click on anything, just leave it.
Yes, sir.
So 4 broad things we have tried to cover. On the left, you'll find the securities. Securities here are, I know a lot of you are security company guys, understand security as data security, etc. But in the business world, security means the instrument that is given, share, you all understand equity share, preference share. They're all, legally and business wise, they're what you call security instruments. On the left, you'll find concepts relating to securities. There's equity, CCPS, OCPS. OCPS is optionally convertible preference shares. There are convertible notes. There are I-safes. I-safes are not very different from CCPS, but convertible notes. They're very, very similar in construct. CCDs, compulsorily convertible debentures, etc., etc. At the bottom, you'll find a couple of things, FDB and PAR. FDB is your fully diluted cap table. I'm sure all of you understand what FDB means. It literally is issued equity, promised equity, options, option pool, sum total of that is your fully diluted capital. PAR is the par value of share. So on, the basic concepts around security instruments is on the left side. In the middle is, various concepts relating to, on the right is various concepts relating to ESOPs. ESOPs are largely, again, broadly, all of us understand what an ESOP is. But in India, you'll hear concepts such as NSOs, phantom units, stock appreciation rights, whether you should have a trust, what are the tax issues relating to ESOPs, when do you make grants, how do you make grants, what are the legal requirements. So a bunch of concepts around, ESOPs are tackled on the right side. Again, there are several more concepts that you need to be careful about, but we have captured the headline items which we believe is a must know for every single entrepreneur. What is tax, what is cliff, why is cliff necessary, etc., etc. In the middle, there are various concepts relating to financing rounds. Financing rounds, whether it is a CCPS round, an I-safe round, a convertible note, whatever you want to call it. There are various company law concepts which are, ingrained there, whether it is a bonus issue, a rights issue, what you call conditions precedent, authorized capital, paid up capital, subscribed capital, when you need valuation reports, why do you need them, who's the registered valuer, why do you need a registered valuer, what is the DVR, why do you do buybacks, what are buybacks, etc., etc., etc. Some of the terms which are there in term sheets and definitive agreements or shareholder agreements, such as, drag along rights, tag along rights, right of first refusal, subscription agreements, co-sale rights, all these concepts, again, headline we have captured here. The bottom is what you call compliance. compliances relating to share issuance. What is the shareholder meeting? What are the forms you need to file? Who's an observer? What is a director? What is a notice under company law? What are the forms you file when you appoint a director? What is angel tax? There are the concept of share certificates. So basically, the idea is to capture the building blocks of any financing in this periodic table. What we could do is we can randomly click on one or two of them, one from each of these items, and then you can just see it. We are happy to take whatever questions you have around this on each of these concepts today, and you can also mail us. We'll be happy to answer them. And if any of you find something missing here or something not 100% accurate here, do point that out to us and we will fix it. It's taken a lot of effort for the team to put this together, and we believe that this is going to be useful for entrepreneurs in general. So I just want to click on a few of them.
Yes, sir.
I just saw this question. Can you email this chart? This email is on our website, www.rulezero.com. You can just look for the periodic table there. You can actually just do a Google search, periodic table plus RuleZero, and you'll find this. So I can't see the whole thing. See, I just want you to expand to cover everything. I'm not able to read the top part of post-money valuation.
Okay.
See, everybody seems to think, Suha, I'm not able to read the first paragraph.
Yes.
Correct. Okay, now, factually, pre-money valuation and post-money valuation is actually the same when you look at the share price. Pre-money valuation is the valuation of the company before the investor comes in. So let's say the valuation is 10 crores. I'm just taking a random number, and the investor is putting in 2 crores. Now the value of the company becomes what it was before the money came in, and plus the money that has gone in. So the post-money valuation is literally 10 crores plus 2 crores, which is 12 crores. So if you look at the share price before and after the round, it will be the same. So just to expand on that further, let's say the company has 100 shares and the capital is 1 lakh. It means each share is worth 1 lakh. An investor puts in, there are 100 shares and 1 lakh. Each share becomes 1,000 rupees. I'm just using it for ease of calculation. If somebody puts in 20,000 rupees, they will get 20 shares. So if you look at the share price before and after the round, it is the same. The share price was 20,000 at 1,000 rupees. For 20,000 rupees, you get 20 shares. So in public markets, when you deal with a listed company, the only thing you care about is the share price. Nobody knows the market value because the share price is published and it's available in the markets. Whereas in private companies, there is no concept of published share price. Share price has to be agreed upon. Since share price has to be agreed upon, people agree on the valuation, and then you derive the share price from the existing number of shares. It's not a great concept, but in very, very simple terms, you take your valuation, divide that by the number of shares, you get a price, you issue the shares to the new investor at the same price. So post money just becomes valuation of the company before the round plus the money that goes in. So let's pick one on ESOP now.
Okay.
Pick any concept.
Yes.
So what is the concept of exercise? Now, exercise is a very, very key and important concept, and one of the most ignored concepts when people look at ESOPs today. Everybody only people only look at what is the strike price, what is the vesting module. Nobody thinks of anything else, just strike price and number of options and vesting period. Now, exercise is important because the moment you exercise, there are 3-4 things which happen. One, when you exercise an option, after it has become vested, there is a tax which the employee needs to pay. That's literally the fair value of the share at the time of the exercise. Let's say at the time of grant, share price was 100 rupees, but at the time of exercise, it has become at the strike price is, let's say, 50 rupees. 1,000 minus 50, 950 rupees becomes gain for the employee. That's one consequence. The second consequence is the employee becomes a shareholder of the company. So he gets all company law rights, as a consequence of becoming a shareholder, which means from a governance standpoint, it is no longer just the founders and investors. One needs to take into consideration the requirements of the employees who have exercised the options as well. While it's not a big deal, practically speaking, the way you get consent in startups, you never give 21-day notice, which is required under law for holding a meeting. You always do it with what is called shorter consent. Now you'll have to get the consent from a lot of other people, especially employees who have left. It could be employees who have not left well. So you have to assume that you will not get cooperation from them, and that can hamper decision making. Sometimes you'll need to do what is called rights issues, which is one of the concepts you'll see in the periodic table. And doing a rights issue requires some level of cooperation in terms of efficiency from the ordinary shareholders of the company. And if somebody is left badly, you will not get that cooperation. So one needs to. That's the second thing. From a governance standpoint, the employee becomes a shareholder of the company, gets the benefits, and the company will have to deal with governance issues that arise from that. The third thing is from a tax perspective for the employee. From the day you exercise the options to the day you sell the shares, it becomes capital gain. And if the period of holding is more than 2 years, it becomes long-term capital gain as opposed to short-term capital gain. And that's hugely beneficial to the employee from a tax perspective. Potentially, some employees will be able to bring their tax down to zero on the gain, because you went and bought a house or something like that. Whereas ordinary income the tax rates could be as high as 42%. So, exercise is a very, very key concept. The next important concept to think about is in the context of exercise in the West, and traditionally in India too, when options are granted, if an employee exercises if an employee leaves the company, the exercise window is usually 3 months, 4 months, 6 months, whatever. And if they're not exercised, the options lapse. Which becomes a huge factor for employees determining when they leave the company. Today, because most companies don't allow exercise of options, what happens is once the options are vested, unless new options are granted, employees, are very comfortable leaving employment. They can go and take up employment somewhere else and, earn options there as well. So one of the key retention aspects gets lost because of, not permitting employees to exercise. So, permitting exercise, I think, is a very important concept, but at the same time, you need to manage governance. You can use trust structures, etc., etc. So let's go to another concept now on the financing term side. Pick anyone. So co-sale, it's a contractual right which investors get. See, typically, since founders are running the company on a day-to-day basis, they know what the true value is. Their ability to find a buyer is way better than that of an investor. So an investor negotiates this right to be able to sell their share along with the company, along with the founder, when the founder is selling his shares. That's simply because the founder has a information asymmetry working in his favor or her favor, as the case may be. And because of that information asymmetry, the founder is in the best position to discover the right amount of value. And founders' cooperation for selling the shares of a company is very, very important. So investors negotiate this right, which is essentially that if the founder is selling, the investor can sell along with them. There are various sub-concepts under this. I don't want to go into that now, but broadly, all this means is that an investor or another shareholder has the ability to sell his or her or its shares along with the founder's sale. So let's pick one on compliance now.
Yes.
So this angel tax is a peculiar tax under Indian law. Angel tax is payable in respect of companies that are not startups. Angel tax is not a legal term, but broadly, because of the amount of, on the face of it, it looks like a slightly crazy provision, but it has come in because of the experience the Indian regulator, the tax office has. All of us know that there's a lot of black money that floats around in our system. It's not there in the startup world. So, we end up bearing the startup world, that's all of us end up bearing the brunt of this situation. What would happen earlier is somebody wants to pay a bribe to a government official, or somebody wants to, do some underhand transactions. You overvalue the shares, and you end up, let's say the share is worth actually 100 rupees a share, but you end up going and paying 10,000 rupees for that same share, which effectively, that company will belong to the government official or whatever it is. And the company ends up, getting a huge benefit that it should not be getting. And the bribe is paid in a neat way without having to, pay any taxes around it. That's one situation. The other situation is where, you go and overvalue you go and, let's say the share is actually worth 1,000 rupees, but you only pay 100 rupees for that same share. So, in one situation, the company is getting the benefit, 1,000 rupee share being paid for at 10,000 rupees. In the other situation, a 1,000 rupee share is paid for is valued at 100 rupees. And somebody gets a huge benefit by putting a lesser amount of money. Here, the bribe receiver puts a small money to get a big stake in the company. So both these situations the regulator has seen, and therefore this concept of angel tax has come in. All they are saying is that get a valuation report. So long as the share price corresponds to the valuation report, this tax will not apply. If the valuation is off the share price, somebody has received a benefit. Either the guy who's got a guy or lady or the enterprise where the investor is a company has got the benefit, or the company has got the benefit by issuing shares at a higher price. So the regulators just made a simple rule, and this rule does not apply if you have registration as a startup. With the income tax department, there are two registrations here. One with the Department of Company Affairs, and the second is with the tax department. Both those registrations you need to get, and very, very important to get this registration early on in the company's life, so that you don't have to deal with all these valuation issues and corresponding tax issues in the early stage when it's these valuations are all really paper, right? It's based on a common shared vision between the investor and the company that investment comes in. And if the vision pans out, there's good return for everybody. If it doesn't, everybody goes home, and everybody's happy with that. Everybody's happy with both the scenarios because that's the nature of the beast. What I mean by that is everybody's okay with both outcomes, because it's understood that some companies will succeed, some will not, and people move on. But you don't want to deal with complicated situations like angel tax in the early stage. There are some negatives arising out of angel tax, by the startup registration, which is the nature of, when you get investment from investors, what do you do with the money? There's only some things you can do with it, which is, I guess, a risk that a consequence that companies will have to deal with. You can only put money in FDs, etc. You cannot use money market instruments to get a better return from the money that goes into the company. So, I've just picked one example from each of these four things. Like I said, the idea of, this periodic table is only to highlight some key issues and, give a headline understanding of each of these items. Please don't think that you've understood everything around each of these concepts when you read this periodic table. The idea is to be able to give you enough of an understanding so that you can have sensible conversations with the right advisors, whomever you work with, instead of being blindsided by any of these items. So again, just to summarize, there are securities, there is ESOP, there are financing terms and compliances, all of them which have been addressed here. And like I said before, we will keep improving upon this. We will add more concepts. We'll fine tune the wording in each of these concepts over a period of time. Some will become redundant, we'll take them off. Some new concepts will come in, we'll bring them in. And you can keep checking this from time to time. So, Suha, anything else I missed here?
No, sir.
So happy to take questions now around this.
Thanks, Mr. Srinivas. Very insightful. So the first question, the person who's raised his hand is from Neophysis Faisal. So asking him to unmute. Faisal, you may unmute yourself and ask a question. Also, give a brief about your company. And yeah, please go ahead.
My name is Faisal. I'm the founder of Neophysis Biotech. Last year, we won the Elevate 2021 award. We got a grant of 40 lakhs. Now I'm going to go for an angel round. One question I want to ask is for startup is there is some doubt about the unsecured loans from individuals for startups. So I have taken an unsecured.
Mrs. Srinivas, if you're talking, we are unable to hear you.
No, I was waiting for Faisal to complete his question.
Oh, okay.
None of us could hear him, I guess.
Faisal, could you please repeat your question?
Secured loan for a private limited company. Now I'm getting mixed response from different chartered accountants. One chartered accountant says to me is you can never take unsecured loan from any individual, while another chartered accountant is telling me is you can take unsecured loan from relatives as per the amendment done in 2017. So I just wanted a clarity on that.
See, I'll just explain the principle first. There is no you cannot take an unsecured loan from, unrelated individual. It becomes anything which is a loan has to satisfy what is called deposit regulations under company law. Directors are allowed to give loans to companies. Let me just give me a second. I just want to check that amendment on relatives giving a loan. Have you already taken the loan?
Yeah, I've already taken the loan. So as per my chartered accountant, this is no problem at all. So I just—
Who is the relative who's given you the loan?
Yes, a relative. My cousin is giving me the loan.
No, I don't think you can take a loan from your cousin.
So that's
Faisal, just send me, I'm just typing in my email ID. You send me the exact details and we'll answer this separately for you. I think, see, the definition of relative is, there is a specific definition of relative under Companies Act. I'll just have to check who all fall within that definition. That definition has also changed over the years. There will be some 15, 16 items earlier. I just check whether a cousin is included in that definition today.
So there is, I can forward you, I can just put in, there is an article which says that now private—
let's do this, offline. I'm just typing out my email ID on the group chat. You can just mail it to me there.
Okay. Second question is regarding this now angel tax. Now, if I do valuation and I'm can I get the valuation done from a non-merchant bank valuer who's registered valuer?
See, the registered valuer valuation is what you need for Companies Act. Merchant banker, the chartered accountant valuation is acceptable to the RBI, whenever you get money from non-residents. Merchant banker valuation is acceptable to the tax office.
So I'm asking is that, so there is a provision for startups whereby you can apply for this some angel tax exemption.
That's correct. So if you have a startup registration, you don't need to worry about valuation. Startup registration, like I said, there are two parts. One is a DGCA, Department of Company Affairs registration, and the second one is registration with the income tax department. So it's very simple to get both those registrations. If you have that, you don't have to worry about valuation.
Okay. Thank you. That's my question. Thank you very much.
Again, if you just write to me, I'll connect you to somebody in the team. They'll help you do that.
Okay. Thank you.
Thanks, Mr. Faisal. The next question we have from Karan Singh. He asks, on average, what is the pre-money valuation of a startup in India at seed level?
That's a really tough one. And, that's a question we get asked very, very often. There is no, when you say seed stage, what is the amount of money you're planning to raise?
Karan, you may unmute yourself and he says 5 crores.
5 crores is the amount you're raising, right?
Yes.
Yes. Okay. See, the thing is, because at these stages, especially in startups, when you're trying to raise 5 crores, your pre-revenue are just about, maybe even MVP is out, or MVP also may not be out. You could have some revenues. It's very, very difficult to, put a science to that number. And it's all about, ultimately, investors come in because of the TAM and, their reading of your ability to, get significant market share. So at this stage, that's why convertible notes and iSafes are what is preferred. where you don't establish the valuation at all. And, valuation is done at a later point of time. But when it comes to, some institutional investors, when they're signing 5 crore checks, they want a valuation to be established. They don't want the uncertainty of valuation to be determined. They don't want a valuation to be determined then and there. So for most investors, the model is, at this stage at least, they will write a check of up to X amount, and their shareholding has to be in a range. Everybody has a thesis. We want to have 15% of the company. We want to have 20% of the company. We want to have 25% of the company. So ultimately, it really depends on the investor. Investors writing larger checks will give larger valuations. Investors writing smaller checks will give smaller valuations. For instance, if we go to Axel Atoms and raise a $500,000 round, 3 crore, 3.5, 4 crore rounds, they will not even establish a valuation. They don't care. They will say, whenever you do the main round, we will get that converted at that time. Whereas if you go to a micro VC, they will put 5 crores and they will want about 10 to 15% of the company, maybe even 20 to 25%. So it really depends on the sweet spot of the investor as opposed to what the real value of the company at that stage is. So unfortunately, there is no correct answer here.
Thanks, Mr. Srinivas. So the next question we have from Panchali Banerjee. And the question is, when one exits the company, can one be asked to give up or sell his shares back to the company?
When one exits, meaning, are we talking about a founder?
No, I was referring to the employees of the company who have become shareholders.
So it is perfectly legal to put that covenant in, saying that if an employee exits, company will have a right to buy back those shares at the, whatever, fair value at that time, discount to fair value. It is seen as something which is not employee friendly. It is seen as, something which creates unnecessary restriction on the employee. But legally, it's absolutely fine to, there's no bar in putting something like this. And there are companies which put it also.
Okay. All right. Thank you.
Mr. Prabhu, you may unmute yourself and ask the question.
Hello, can you hear me?
Yeah,
Yes.
we can, Prabhu.
Mr. Srinivas, good morning. This is Prabhu here. I have a startup in a food tech company where I had a valuation done by one of the leading, the leading valuation. And the valuation is they gave me is around 50 crores for the entire startup. That is, I don't know how far it's true. But the valuation was done by a very well-known auditor or whatever, CA, chartered accountant. And the chartered accountant is asking me to ask 3.5 crores for 5.5% of the stake. I don't know how far it's true. I kindly want to know a little clarity about this stake of 3.5% for 3.5 crores. Sorry.
No, you can't have, Prabhu. You shouldn't have your charter account determine what the valuation is, man. Because,
Yeah. Because I have just put the same in my pitch deck. But now I'm confused really, what is the valuation? How do I get it done exactly? This is
what is the stage at which your company is now?
It's a MVP. I have a minimum viable product. And,
can you explain the product a little, if you don't mind?
Yeah. It's a product. It's a food tech startup. Okay. We are into cloud kitchen and internet restaurants. That's the thing. And
but what exactly does your tech do in that space?
It's an online ordering platform for different cuisines.
Okay, so somebody can, any cloud kitchen can use your tech to manage their orders.
We have our own brand also. We are on 8 different brands of cuisine. So what it's, I don't know whether I can tell this. There are few people like that. One is called Rebel Foods. They are the same platform.
So you're a house of brands.
Yes, the own house of brands.
Okay, so you have 8 brands and you have cloud kitchens and.
Yeah, we have just started with one. We are trying to expand, and in between, the confusion is the valuation. I have mentioned the same in my pitch deck to the investors, and I'm not able to know. I'm confused. What is the real valuation?
See, I think, if you're at MVP stage, it means you don't have revenues yet, right?
Yeah. We don't have revenue. We are just.
See, I would recommend you don't establish a valuation by putting a 50 crore number. You might scare off people.
Yeah.
Okay, and
True.
at the same time, you may be undervaluing yourself. Both extremes are possible.
Yeah.
So don't be fearful either way. I would say just take 3.5-4 crores and say we will give a floor. The floor really doesn't matter. You can give a 25-30
So-
crore kind of floor.
Okay.
And say next round, whenever it happens, we will give a discount to that round.
No, in fact, I've been talking to really good angel investors in INA and things like that. They are interested, but I don't know how much to ask. That's a confusion now. Because
That's
if
why
I
don't ask for a valuation. Do it on an iSafe or a
iSafe.
convertible note where valuation is not established.
What do you think is the right ask from your point of view? What for my situation?
See, you getting the right amount of capital is more important than valuation at this stage. Okay. If you manage to get only 50 lakhs, 75 lakhs, in 2 months, you'll be running around to try and get money again. And instead of building business, you're spending time on raising money, and that compromises the business.
No, it almost took me 2 years to understand and do this and put a company and get a DDPR registration.
Yeah. So my suggestion is you don't establish valuation. You tell investors, we will do it at a 25 to 30 crore floor valuation.
Okay.
You raise 3 to 4 crores and you say discount, discount comes in various shapes, sizes and forms. Again, just send me an email. We'll send you a few discount models.
Definitely, I'll send. So nice of you, Srinivas. I think I was confused for the last few days. I think now I have clarity. I will talk better to the investors now.
Yeah, that's important, Prabhu. Don't scare off investors. Don't undersell your company.
Yeah. That's
you might end up losing something because you have not established valuation, but that's okay. Raising money is more important, and certainty of the business is more important.
so nice of you, Srinivas. Thank you very much. I think I've come out of a dilemma of knowing what it is.
Moving on, we have another question from Ashok Nagrajan. He asks, how is a convertible note treated under law?
See, earlier convertible notes were, not recognized, and there was all kinds of confusion around it. But now startups are allowed to issue convertible notes. There's no problem in law.
I hope, Ashok, you must have got your answer. Next, we have from Ashutosh Dubey. Is there another route of bringing in someone to work as a consultant other than ESOP?
Can you explain that question a little more?
Ashutosh, can you unmute?
Yeah, just tell me what the consultant's role is, and what is your perspective of the kind of reward you want them to get.
Hi. Yeah. So I think for someone to work on ESOPs, they can't be an employee of another company or another organization. So I wanted to know if someone is associated, like working full time in another company, and we want to onboard that person, let's say as a consultant or as a freelancer. So is there another option apart from ESOP? Because ESOP, we can't allocate to that person since he or she is already working with another company. So is there another alternative mode?
So the most common method used there is phantom units. Phantom units mirror shares in every respect. So basically what happens is when an exit happens, instead of a third party buying the shares, they just buy the phantom units which are held by that person. So let's say you want to give me 100 stock options. Instead of, I'm a consultant, instead of giving me 100 stock options, you give me 100 phantom units. And when the company gets sold, that many, let's say the share price is 10 rupees, 100 into 10 rupees, 1000 rupees, I get in cash. And the phantom units are treated as part of the fully diluted cap table. The only downside, which you need to think long and hard about, is that because it's a consultant, the value of that option, the SAR, becomes subject to GST. And if you don't have enough input credits, it's a problem. For example, if you're in the food space, like Prabhu, you don't get input credits. You just have a output tax GST of 5%. So when you don't get input credits, that becomes a problem. If GST is an issue for you, the other alternative is you just pay them a cash fee, and the cash fee they reinvest into the company and get shares.
Okay, just a follow-up question to this. If they are already having ESOP option, like in the company in which they are working full time, so would that restrict them in working as a consultant, or like it's just
Yeah, I didn't hear clearly. If you can
like
say that again.
if they are having ESOPs already, if they are having stock options in the company where they are working full time. So does the ESOP policy stop employees to work externally, or how is it?
See, the ESOP policy will never have these kind of provisions. Where these provisions are usually there in the employment contract, which the company expects a employee to sign. Usually, the employment contract has a provision that they cannot render services to anybody else, and any IP that they develop belongs to the company. So you'll have to look at that other person's employment contracts. Right or wrong, I personally have been conflicted on whether this provision is right or wrong. But the industry standard around the world, I'm probably the only person who's thinking whether that's right or wrong, is that if you're an employee in one place, you cannot be doing work for anybody else.
Okay, understood. Thank you so much. Thank you.
Yeah, next, I'd request Harsha to unmute and ask your question.
Hi, Srinivas. Srinivas, first of all, thank you so much. This is extremely comprehensive. I've been looking at the periodic table, and this looks extremely nice and helpful, to be honest, for many early stage startups. Srinivas, you mentioned about convertible notes and SAFE. While we are early stage, we're building the MVP right now. I've had extremely conflicting opinions regarding both. So a lot of people have been in favor of convertible notes, and I've seen a lot of VCs also favor the same. While a conflicting opinion is that convertible notes usually favor the VCs at a later stage in terms of the discounting that they offer to the said VC. What would be your opinion in this matter, or on this conflicting, this jeopardy basically?
Acha, I just want to understand this correctly. Your conflict is not convertible note versus iSafe, but whether either a convertible note or iSafe is okay or not.
Is okay, exactly, yes. So some people say that they are the best for early stage startups. The others comment that while they are good, the discounting that they provide to the VCs at a later stage seem to have become steeper by the day.
Not really. I think it depends on which investor you go to. Convertible notes are probably the best thing to do, like I was saying earlier on the call, because very, very difficult to establish valuation at the MVP stage. You don't know whether your company will get a Series A at 20 million valuation or a Series A at 5 million valuations, both of which are possible today. You could have a VC who'll put 2.5 million and, ask for a round to be completed. You could have a VC who'll ask for 20 million, who's okay with a 20 million valuation. So all the convertible note does is, when the valuation is determined, anyway, it is the founder who determines the valuation. It's not investors who determine the valuation. Whatever valuation you get, I get a discount on it. Now, the discount is not the real thing to worry about. So typically, if you go and raise at an MVP stage 1 or 2 crores, that money is going to last you about a year, 6 months. It's not going to last you 3 years. So 1.5 years from now, you will be, 1 year, 1.5 years from now, you will close around. And if the product is proven, the valuation could be as high as, $15-20 million, right? So imagine at MVP stage, somebody's put in 1 crore and they end up getting a 100 crore valuation, discount to 100 crore valuation. I mean, even if you take a 20% discount or a 30% discount to the valuation, a 60 crore valuation for the company at this stage is really, really rich. That 1 crore literally translates to 1.5-2% of the company, which is really nothing as far as the investor is concerned. So the key thing there is really the cap in the valuation that you negotiate, because the cap becomes, in most situations, the valuation at which the round effectively closes for the early round. So I wouldn't really worry too much about the discount, but you should model out how much cash you need before you can get to a priced round. You're raising 1 crore now. If you think you can get to a priced round in 1 year or 6 months with that money, it's one thing. The other thing is, you do a 1 crore convertible note now. 6 months from now, you do another 2 crore convertible note. 1 year from now, you do another 2 crore convertible note, and valuation gets pushed to almost 2 years. So those are the nuances you'll have to think about more than the discount, really. You just think, right? You get a 100 crore valuation next. Even if you do a 75% discount, it's a 25 crore valuation. That may not be exactly fair to the investor who's put in 50 lakhs or a crore today. So, of course, you have to negotiate the discount, not that you ignore it. But the other important concept to consider is the cap at which the valuation is done.
So, moving on, we have Sahana. Sahana, if you could unmute and ask your question.
Yeah, hi, Srinu. Continuing to the previous question, I have even a more basic question. Like being a pre-revenue startup and in a prototyping stage, in order to raise 1 crore, is the pre-valuation mandatory, or how do we do the valuation?
Do a non-price round. The answer is very simple.
It's a
convertible note or an iSafe. Very, very difficult for at the prototype stage to establish valuation. If you're talking about a prototype, I'm assuming there's some amount of hardware, right?
Yes.
Okay, and in your space, though, it's very difficult to say when you'll get traction, whether this prototype will work. Another prototype needs to be created, whether more capital is needed for that. So very difficult to get a valuation done unless you get an investor who says, listen, I'm willing to give you 1 crore, I want 15%, I don't care. In which case you'll have to figure out whether you're okay with it or not.
Okay. When it's the CCD, generally, what is the rate of interest associated?
See, the discount models vary. It usually, you should look at it in the region of about 2 to 3% per month with a floor and a cap. So 1 year from now, the discount will be anywhere from 25 to 40%. What I like to do is I don't like to do it on a monthly basis. It's unnecessary to calculate so finely. What I prefer doing always is if the round is within 6 months, discount is say 15-20%. 6 months to a year, 20 to 25%, or maybe even 30. More than a year, 30 to 40%, depending on what you've negotiated for the earlier period, rather than negotiate based on a per month basis. It's simply a personal preference.
So it's based on the term for which it is.
Correct.
Okay. And sorry, what was the model you mentioned? The pricing?
It's called a non-priced round. You've not priced the company yet. Priced means you've not established valuation.
Okay.
I mean, you've not established the share price. Literally, it's just a term we use. Priced round was a non-priced round.
And in case if we progress without raising any fund, if we bootstrap and take it to MVP and then we go for the pricing, in that case, or once we start generating revenue and then go for the funding, in that case, is pre-valuation necessary?
No, it's even there. You can do it on this because you have agreed on a floor or a cap, and you just do it at the floor valuation. If you don't raise money for, let's say, 2 years, let's say you're able to start getting revenues and you say, let's push the revenues a little more before we raise a round. And, it's not unheard of that 2 years you don't raise money. And after 2 years, suddenly you raise money at a 200 crore valuation because of your own background network. You've been able to achieve a lot with limited capital, especially if you're sitting in a good incubator, an IIT incubator or any of them. It's not unheard of. You just convert at the floor which you've agreed upon with the investor then.
Thank you.
And that's not a bad thing, right? I mean, it may look that the investors got a lot of equity, but you also pulled off literally a heist, so to speak, because you have got to a great valuation before you raise the large round. See, the thing is, it's the first 2 rounds which really, give you the maximum dilution. Series B onwards, the dilution is not much at all because you hit the hockey stick growth, both in terms of growth of the business and in terms of valuation. So first 2-3 rounds are where really the maximum dilution takes place. Investors are taking a big risk. The founders are taking a big risk. So it's fair that there is a lot of push and pull there. And these not establishing valuation is a good balance for all these things.
Okay. And ideally, the valuation will be done by the chartered accountant, or is there
No,
a
valuation is done by you in negotiation with the investor. The chartered accountant just writes up a report based on what you've agreed, literally.
okay?
I mean, it's not a good idea to even for a forget the Googles of the world, but a Series C company valued at, let's say, $400 million. Valuation is not done by a chartered accountant. Valuation is done by shake hands between the investors and the company. By company I mean founders, existing investors, board, etc., etc. And then you go back to the chartered accountant to establish valuation for legal purposes.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah. Next we have Kaushik. So if you could go ahead and unmute yourself and ask the question.
Hi, are you able to hear me?
Yes.
Yeah, okay. Hi, thanks. Hi, I'm Kaushik. I'm the founder of a health tech startup. And then firstly, I'm super impressed with the startup periodic table. I really love that we just one small comment before I proceed with my question. I need to click on anything to be able to see it. Instead, if you can just have a hover, that will help me so that I can just.
Suha, can you communicate that to the product team? To Jay
Yes,
and
yes.
yeah, just
yeah. If you can just have a hover and then immediately the thing appears without me having to click. So then
Okay,
I
okay.
yeah. Thanks for that thing. And yeah, okay, coming to my first question. So the thing is, Srinivas, we have valued our company both via the registered valuer as well as the merchant banker, and we have also given equity to some angels. Now we want to do CCPS. My question is it possible, number one? And if yes, then what are the hurdles to shifting? And what are the kind of challenges, especially from a previous investor and the new investors? I mean, what are the kind of things that we foresee?
So I need to look at your existing cap table before I answer the question. So if you can just send me an email with your existing cap table attached, I just want to know what are the terms you agreed with existing folks and your advisors. So then I can advise you more correctly. But the short answer is there is unlikely to be a problem to issue CCPS at this stage.
Okay, got it.
It's highly unlikely, I would say.
Okay.
Whatever little confusions are there, they can be easily ironed out.
Okay.
I'll connect you to our legal team who handle these kind of documentation and rounds, and they'll be able to help you with this.
Okay.
So first, you and I can just have a call. I'll just explain. I'll just quickly explain to you after looking at your cap table, and after that, if you wish to engage with the team, they'll be happy to engage.
So thanks for that. And then my second question is actually our first customer has just recently become our champion, and he's asking for either equity or CCPS. Now,
is he going to put money?
Yeah. So that's my question. So do you think it is right, or do you think it is legal to give equity without cutting a check? Because I prefer giving equity only if he cuts a check.
You cannot issue equity unless they cut a check, unless you call it phantom.
Oh, okay. Got it. But he's a customer. He's our first.
Yeah, he's a customer. I'm assuming it's a small equity. He's looking for 1-2% types.
No. So he's saying, okay. He was saying 1-2% is not enough to get him out of the bed. So he is asking for about 5 to 10.
That's too much, man.
Yeah.
That's too much. Imagine what you can do by giving 10% to your team.
Yeah, I know. Yeah.
But again, it depends on how important this customer is. If this customer is Intel and you're a chip company, or it's an NVIDIA and it's a chip company, then it's very different.
Yeah.
But you just have to see how valuable it's a pure business call. What is the value they bring to the table? And the most important thing to remember is don't just issue it upfront, because most guys will promise you the moon, but they'll disappear after the shares are issued. I've had a lot of bad experiences where I've seen it fail more often than succeed, where you give a equity based on some promise which a consultant or a customer makes. Rarely is the promise met after that.
Right. So the other option that I'm trying out with him is, hey, I'll not give you equity or CCPS, but I'll give you actually rev share, because he loves our idea and he feels that he knows a lot of people in this space and he has a very, very strong network in the same space. So he says, I'll be able to take you places.
See, the problem with the rev share is, let's say you give him a 10% rev share, your valuation comes down by 10%, right? Literally. So you're better off giving him 3-4% equity than giving him a 10% rev share, because ultimately, of course, with VCs, you can go and tell that, look at the, I've given a rev share for 2 years, but look at the, the revenue model is proven here. I don't need them after 2 years. I just needed to get the first 10 customers. You can argue it out. So just think of the pros and cons of rev share versus giving equity. But the big advantage of rev share is you pay only when you get business.
Right.
Whereas in equity, you end up giving it up, or you put some milestones to it and say that, boss, you give me 5 customers in the next 1 year, and that translates to X revenue. I'll give you Y equity. It's literally like giving equity to your sales guy.
Right. Yeah, right. So I don't understand the point about if I give a rev share, the valuation decreases.
You just have to play that out, because one of the things which when investors are looking for, when you do Series A, when you're doing a seed round, you're doing a an angel round, an institutional angel round, whatever. It's really based on whether MVP is there, little more than MVP is there, revenues are there, right? But when you do a Series A, you need to, apart from product market fit, and your go to market is already established, your product market fit is established, investors also like to see your revenue model established. Now, revenue model literally depends on what are you able to get per contract per customer, right? And what are the lifetime value of that? All those go into determining the valuation. Now, if you've given a 10% revenue share, your revenue, instead of becoming 1 crore, becomes 90 lakhs. While that 10% is not so significant from a cash perspective, how will investors look at it from a lifetime value perspective? So you just have to explain that to investors. I think you can. I suspect you can, saying, it was only for the first 10 customers. It's not an exclusive relationship of any kind. So we wanted to pay significant revenue instead of giving equity up. So we've done this. And after, again, it depends on what this guy negotiates, right? Suppose he says, I want your lifetime value is 10 years. So 10 years, you pay me revenue share.
No, obviously, yeah, I understand. Yeah. So I was thinking of more like 1 year or 2 years, and then that's it. So yeah, I get your thing. And my understanding was that thing is, it's far better to give a rev share than equity, because equity value increases with time, whereas rev share is basically depreciates.
Don't think about what he's getting. Think about it from your perspective. If your valuation is going to drop because you give rev share, it's the same thing, no, from your perspective.
Right.
Look at your holding after Series A. Is my holding going to be 30% or 26% or 34%?
Right.
That's the only thing which is relevant for you.
Right. Got it. Super clear.
Yeah. Don't think about what the other guy gets. Think about what you get out of it.
Okay. Yeah. Thanks.
See, thing is, look, the benefit of giving equity is 2 years later also he'll continue to refer customers. Though once the rev share stops, he may not refer customers. He may continue to be a champion 4, 5, 6 years from now also. So there are pros and cons with all these things. So just think about it before you take the call. Of course, it depends on whether it's 10% revenue share obviously is cheaper than 5% equity.
Thanks for that. The next question we have from Manu. The question is, how should the valuation be done for a product that is scalable to all state government, central government, defense sector, and civilian segment?
What kind of product is this?
Manu, if you could unmute yourself and...
Yes. Hi, Srinivas, Manu here.
Hey, Manu.
Hello? Yeah, hi. We recently got selected from our state government to develop this app for them, which uses various IoT hardware, including. So right now we're targeting aviation industry, forest department, and few other departments also to be tagged along within the next 6 months. And I can't disclose this platform mail. You can catch up on that.
Sure, let's have a chat separately then. I can understand this is a little sensitive. So yeah, you got my email ID. Just send me an email.
Yes, sir. Sure. I'll shoot your mail over there.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Thanks, Manu. Next, we have a question from Abhishek. Do we have the concept of reverse convertible notes, where the company decides whether to convert the equity or not?
Not very common. I have seen it, but not common at all.
Okay, thank
so
you.
you need to have significant leverage to be able to pull that off.
Yeah, but I mean, I just wanted to know whether that concept exists in the Indian law, because I only saw it in the US. This thing I have not
No,
seen.
legally you can do all these things, man. You can find ways to do these things.
Okay.
It'll be a little complicated, but when it's complicated, you'll have to get a good law firm and a good CA firm to advise you, and it'll consequently become a little expensive. But you can't. All of these things can be structured.
Okay, thank you.
See, I'll just give one vague structure right now, just from the top of my head. You issue CCPS to the investor, and you just redeem them after that. Buy back those CCPS when you want to. You'll have a buyback right on it. So legally, all of this is possible. It depends on how much leverage you have.
Requesting Mr. Raghu Yadav to unmute and ask a question.
Thanks for giving opportunity. So mine is very general question. So as a startup founder, so everybody is asking ESOPs or equity. So even he is coming as an advisor, he is coming as an employee, he is coming with any skill set. So what is the thumb rule for founders to keep certain percent of equity for their own to run the company?
Anything from 10 to 15% for a startup. Thing is, don't start making grants very early, because it looks silly, right? Let's say you go and do a 1 crore raise, and some investor says, I want 10%, so you valued the company at 5 crores post money, and 10% ESOP in that is 50 lakhs. So if you start valuing shares and options at that stage, it look really silly. If somebody will say, boss, you're giving me 5 lakhs worth of shares. So the value of ESOP really is when 3-4 years later, the company becomes 200, 300, 400 million, 1 billion in valuation. So if you start giving options too early, it becomes a little crazy, except to the founding team. Apart from the 1, 2 or 3 founders you have, if you have a founding team of 1, 2 people, and there you negotiate percentages, right? 1%, 0.5%, 2%, whatever. But everybody else, my recommendation is that don't start making grants very early. Commit ESOPs, commit that you'll make healthy ESOPs. Most companies adopt an ESOP plan only after Series A, or a institutional seed round, like a Sequoia Surge or something like that you do, and you raise money based on that, and then you'll do your ESOP plan. Most people only have a pool till then.
Next question we have from Bhaskar Prasad. I would also be pasting that question here in the chat as it's a bit long. So he asks, I have founded my company in Jan 19 in Garden Tech, D2C e-commerce, but I've started our full-fledged business in December 21. We have MVP and now a clocked revenue 4 lakhs with 200 plus customers. Last month valuation done by CA at 70 crore based on 5-year business plan. Now raising 2 crore funds for building brand. Please suggest and highlight.
Look at it, if you're raising 2 crores based on a 70 crore valuation, the investor is literally going to get about 3% of the company. Okay, so I think it will be very hard to convince investors to put 2 crore on a 70 crore valuation at this stage. Imagine a good scenario, company becomes 200 crore in Series A. You dilute, let's say you raise 75 crore, so that's almost 25% dilution. So the investor is down to 2.25%. And then 500 crore, you do Series B and the company exits at that stage. Let's say the investor has 1.75% of the company. You're literally telling the investor that for the high risk of putting 2 crores, they will make about 3.5 crores 3 years from now. It just won't add up. So that's why I'm just not in favor of, chartered accountants. Yeah, chartered accountant will do a valuation based on 5-year projections, but that 5-year projection assumes a lot of risk and a lot of capital going in as well. So that's, that's primarily the reason I mentioned earlier also, just don't do a valuation from a CA and, use that to discuss with investors. Investors will just run away.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Srinivas, for highlighting this. Okay, because we have a scalable business model. Okay, and one more thing, the last year, okay, we don't have a good kind of revenue. Okay, so whenever I am approaching the investors, okay, they're asking for the last year revenue, which we don't have. I think that it will be approximately 1 or 2 lakhs only. But this year only we have clocked this kind of business, and this year. So what kind of, answer I shall give? Because I was working in a corporate company. Okay, I took an early retirement, and then now I'm in this full-time business now.
Convertible note. Just say that investors who invest in this space, angels, every angel will have 30, 40, 50, 60 investments. They will all look at the TAM. They will all look at the, getting 200 plus customers who are paying you, even if it's 2,000 rupees per customer. It's not a small achievement. So investors will be comfortable putting in money on a convertible note.
Okay.
But if you put a 70 crore number on the table, they'll say if the company grows to 600 crores, I will get, 6x my money. See, not even 6x because of dilution for 2 rounds, that will become 4x or 3x. For a 2 crore investment, if I'm going to get 6 crore and it's highly risky, why would I do it?
Bhaskar, if there's any more clarification, I may directly write to Mr. Srinivas and get it solved.
Please do.
Yeah. The next, Samir is asking to understand the concept of phantom.
See, phantom literally is, it's a phantom. It doesn't exist on paper. So it will track the value of share. So if I've got 1 unit, I will get the value equivalent to 1 share. So let's say at exit, the company has, share price is 5,000 rupees a share. I have 100 phantom units. I will get 5,000 into 100 minus the strike price. So value wise, it is absolutely the same as shares, just that I don't actually get a share.
I hope Samir, you must have got the answer for your question. Next, Madhu wants to know how to maintain confidentiality of the business plan or ideation while pitching for funds. Does the NDA concept really work?
Can you say that again? Sorry.
Yeah, he wants to know how to maintain confidentiality of the business plan or ideation while pitching for funds. Does the NDA concept really work?
See, ultimately, our country is very leaky on all these things. That's a fact. Whether it is, everybody likes to say that they know stuff. So employees will leak, investors will leak. You should sign the NDA, because if somebody does a fraud, you can go after them. But don't be 100% sure that everything will be maintained confidentially.
Well, I hope, Madhu, you've got the answer. For more clarification, you may email Mr. Srinivas as shared in the chat box. So, Faisal also would like to ask one more question. So, Faisal, you may unmute yourself and go ahead.
Okay. Thank you once again, Mr. Srinivas. Last month, we have been granted patent for our invention. So we are a biotech firm. So now I want to know, first question is can I go to any registered valuer to get an IP valuation for the IP?
No, registered valuation will not help you with IP, with patent valuation. You will need to go to a different kind of valuer. Let me just check if we know anybody within our system who can do a patent valuation.
Second question is, now I applied for the patent before I formed the company. So the patent now currently is in my name, and I spoke to my patent lawyer, and he'll be transferring it to name of the company.
Okay.
So that can be done, right? So
that can be done. There's no problem. Patent assignment is a process, but can easily be done.
Okay. Thank you. I'll get in touch.
The thing is, be a little careful about income tax on that, because if you go and get a patent valuation for, let's say you go to a valuer and he values the patent at 50 crores and you transfer it to the company, you don't want the tax department to say, there's another section which is even more draconian than 56, which is called 50C. Somebody can come and say that 50 crore is income for the company and company has to pay tax and you have to pay tax on it. You are deemed to have received 50 crore. So you pay tax on both sides. So what you should do is, consult a good company lawyer and say that, this is technically part of the company. It was supposed to be a pre-incorporation thing and I had done the work as an employee of the company and I'm now just completing the process of transfer of the asset to the company. And it was always meant to belong to the company. Something like that you'll have to document. And you need advice of a good CA and a good lawyer, because undervaluing that patent is bad for you from a business perspective. Getting the right valuation creates a tax complication. So you have to get the balance between the two.
Okay. Is there any law, for example, startups get some exemption for patents?
No, there is no exemption for this to my knowledge.
Okay, thank you. Thank you.
Thanks, Faisal. We have two more questions. One is from Shiju. Shiju, can you please unmute yourself and ask your question?
Yeah. Hi, good afternoon. Myself, Shiju Krishnan. I am the founder of Pencil Interiors and Pencil Gardens. Okay. We have somewhere around 3 crore of turnover. We have been registered in 2013. So we would like to scale up the business to different cities. Now we are in Bangalore and even in Kerala, in Palakkad. So we would like to, expand to different south cities at this moment. So how can I go and approach the fundraising? And this is the right point to fundraise?
Absolutely. 2 crore is 3 crore is a very, very good number when you go to investors. 3 crores, 7-8 years you've been at it. Only thing is you'll have to explain why you took 7-8 years to get to a 3 crore number. But, that should not be too difficult. You just have to think of a cohesive story, said that you built it slowly, you've done a lot of innovation, you didn't have any capital, you work part-time on it, whatever, or could be a combination of all these factors, and say that, now we have got the model which can see hockey stick growth, so we're raising money now. 3 crore is a very, very good revenue number, but I'm assuming it's product-linked revenue and not services-linked revenue.
It's a product based, because we manufacture and we go and install it. So
Okay.
how we can do the valuation for the company in this? It's 3 crore turnover is the proper valuation. That is a 3 crore valuation of the company, because multiple people came and they have gone back, because one of my CA told that it is valued around 15 or 16 crore as per the valuation. So how it is calculated then?
15 crore is not too high for a 3 crore revenue company.
Okay.
If I had, a lot of companies with 3 crore revenue get 100 crore valuations.
Oh.
So, again, since you have not raised money earlier, there will be good VCs who will, if you go to angels, I think it's a bad idea with 3 crore revenue. You can go to a lot of, VCs micro VCs who do investments based on, products of this kind. So you should approach the micro VCs directly now. You can even approach some of the VCs. The mainstream VCs with 3 crore revenue.
Oh, okay. So can you help me into this? After this, I can connect with you and will you be able to?
See, I won't, we don't do fundraising as an enterprise for companies of this kind. Okay. You can approach Let's Venture, Trika, Let's Venture will be able to, you should approach Let's Venture for this. They have a platform which raises money, but that's from angels. So just mail me, we'll have a chat offline and see, what ideas I can give you.
Okay. Okay. All right. Thank you.
Thanks, Shiju. The last question we have from Abhishek. Abhishek, if you could unmute yourself and ask the question.
Hello, Srinivas. Good morning. I'd like to know if, we help a fellow entrepreneur raise funds from one of our HNI friends. How do you structure the placement fee? And can I have it in an agreement? Should I get paid first and then let's say assume 5% placement fee. I'm helping a company raise 5 crores of equity. Now I thought, let's say I make a 25 lakh fee. Now,
yeah, do you want to take it in cash or do you want to take it in equity?
I want to know both. What are the options for both?
You can do one or both.
Let's say both.
So you can say I do 12.5 lakhs cash and 12.5 lakhs stock.
And how do you create the agreement? What are the agreements for this?
Just a 2-page agreement, man, saying that, when this round closes, you'll pay me this. And you make sure that the investor is also supportive of it. So that when the round, see, most banking deals, this kind of risk is there. But most people end up paying up. If you have a proper contract, which says that you'll be paid X amount of fee or Y amount of stock, and they don't honor it, you'll actually end up issuing a legal notice to them, and that will scare off other investors. What kind of guy this is.
Okay.
Okay, so risk is low if you ask me, but simple 2-3 page contract should do the trick for you.
Okay, on 100 rupees stamp paper.
Yeah, 100 rupees stamp paper.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, so this was the last question. So I would request for all the attendees, if they have any other questions, they can definitely get in touch with Mr. Srinivas. I've reshared the email ID on the chat.
Please send it to Srinivas and Suha, because sometimes I'm a little slow on responding to email. Suha will remind me, or Suha can connect you to somebody else within the firm who can answer some of those questions. So just mark both Suha and me.
Sure. Amit, would you want to take one more question, Mr. Srinivas, if the time permits for you?
Sure.
Sure, Amit, let me... Yes, Amit, you may unmute yourself and ask the question.
Thank you for that, sir. A question which I have is, I have a verbal agreement with the founder about coming on board as an advisor, because I'm helping the company with fundraise and strategic partnerships to grow the revenue also. And the question is, for the equity to be issued, is there a standard contract which I can, like a template, which I can request for, which you can help me with?
You just send an email, no? Somebody from the team will be able to help you with this. Hello? Hello? We seem to have lost Amit.
Okay, I'll send an email. Actually, I wasn't able to unmute myself again. So I'll send the email.
Just send an email.
Yes, sir.
The issue is really, how do you get the equity? Because of tax issues, not so much legal.
Okay.
So, just send us an email and we'll help you with that.
Grateful, sir. Grateful. Thank you, sir.
Thank you, everyone, for joining in. And as mentioned, if you have any further more queries or questions, you may also get in touch with the RuleZero team and get it solved. Thank you, Mr. Srinivas, for this insightful session. And we'll stay connected and we'll hope to continue and sustain this.
Done.
Thank you, guys.